Teachers of Reddit, did you ever have a student you seriously hated? It's really hard to hate a kid because you can see where they're just hurt or angry. That being said, I will let myself hate a kid who lies to get me in trouble. I had a girl tell her mom that she saw Norp in my classroom. If I hadn't called her mom first and notified my IT guy, it could have been screwed me over. It may have been a cry for help from a girl needing attention, but I hate that girl now. I had a similar situation. An overachieving grade grubber and I got into an argument about a comma. She looked at me with these cold, dead eyes and said, "I'm going to get you fired." The next day, her mom was in, telling the principal I'd been looking at my female students too much and standing too close to them. The principal believed me, though, and advised me to be very careful around her. Just this past year she returned to our school trying to do her student teaching there. There was such intense opposition from the staff, though, that it never happened. Pretty much every teacher who'd ever had her was virulently opposed. My brother tells this story. He's a math teacher, and one day had his class work on problems in class. Once finished, you could do other work silently. One of his students, a black chick who transferred from the city public school, was being obnoxiously loud. My brother reprimanded her. The following day she comes up to him and says, "Mr. Peter_Jennings_Lung's brother, I'm not calling you a racist, but you only yelled at me and not any of the white kids yesterday." Needless to say, my brother hates her. I'm still a pretty new teacher, so I haven't had any students I really have hated, but I've had a few students that clearly don't care but still try to make my work difficult by dragging down discussions, emailing and meeting with me to ask for stupid exceptions to things they were too lazy to do, or just outright plagiarizing, which is my number one trigger for fucking pure hatred towards a student. If you don't give a shit, please just go all the way with it. Don't fail to do work and give a bad attitude and then turn around and act like I fucking owe you a good grade anyway. I give the grades my students deserve, good or bad. It's just frustrating to have to fucking fight them on it when it's 100% their fault. No, thankfully. I've been teaching for about 13 years. I have had some I seriously disliked, including one spoilt little boy who tried to stab a little girl in the eye with a wooden pencil. He hit the bridge of her nose instead. I reported it to the principal, and they took it very seriously. The mother removed him from the school shortly after as, "We are moving to Australia. Hope the Aussie kids taught him to be a nicer boy." They stab each other with knives, not pencils. If you make it to high school graduation and you haven't been killed by one of your classmates, or the wildlife, you are assigned a Crocodile Dundee hat, a whip, and a machete, and sent out into the workforce. Aussie teacher here. Had a chuckle since everyone at my high school, when I was a student, did carry knives, though rarely with which to stab each other. I'm not a teacher, but the school's IT guy. We recently went to a 1:1 environment, where every kid has their own laptop purchased by the school. I have the unenviable task of making sure that the students don't take naked pictures of themselves with the webcams and save them on school-owned property. They do. A lot. When it's caught, the student is usually expelled for the remainder of the year. One boy, an 11th grader, was found with naked pictures saved on his laptop of 6 different girls at the school, all under 16. All of the girls were expelled as the pictures sent were found on their laptops as well. The boy was suspended for 1 week. I don't hate that kid, but he has no idea that he's basically ruined the foreseeable future for 6 girls. Yeah, they were dumb to send the pictures, but he was extremely manipulative in getting them, and he doesn't care what happened. I tried like hell to find out if he sent them to anyone else, but short of keylogging and breaking into his email, it wasn't happening. In a small town like where I live and work, the stigma of something like this stays around for a long time. Actually, in cases like this, the school has no choice. Basically, underage naked photos are child pornography, which is a felony to create, distribute, or possess in most of the civilized world. The girls took those pictures, which is creation of child pornography, then sent those photos to that boy. As per law, each of those girls were guilty of the federal crime of creating, distribution, and possession of child pornography, while the boy merely possessed it. Due to specific wording of these laws, even if these girls had taken pictures of themselves and done nothing with it, they could still be found guilty of the creation and possession of child pornography. Because the CP was on the school's system, the school had to act in accordance with the federally mandated laws, and due to the nature of child NORP, schools and other facilities that work with children tend to err on the side of freaking the fuck out, so to speak, and punishing them as much as they can. If they had failed to act, it would have become a real possibility that the local newspaper would run a headline saying that the school found child NORP on their property, and did nothing about it. Don't we live in fun times? I've been teaching for 12 years. It's tough to hate a kid. I've had some rough ones. I had a 4-year-old that would try to gouge out the other kid's eyes. No joke, he would try to get his thumbs in the eye sockets of the kids. But he was adopted, and his birth mother kept him strapped into a car seat for the first 2 years of his life and never let him out. He didn't last long in the school. I didn't hate him, just felt horrible for him. I've had students who disrupt the class all the time. They are just crying out for attention, and if you talk to them enough, you can generally get through to them. Not always. I have seen some kids I taught when they were 8 and now 18, and still generally in bad shape. They just grow up to be bad parents. Spoiling kids does that. It makes them lazy and self-absorbed. These kids are also generally raised by a nanny, not their parents though. These are the kids I hate. Hate is a very strong word though. I just wish I could get through to them and let them know that having large amounts of money and parents that bend to everything you want isn't going to help them be better human beings in life. Kids thrive on being given jobs that make them feel important. Ask a 4-year-old if they can hold open a door for you to help you out, or just be polite. They generally feel like they are a superhero. My not even 2-year-old son beams when he helps us load the dishes in the dishwasher, or walks around the house trying to help sweep. Kids want to help and be adults. If you reward them with a good job, they will love you for it. You don't need to give them money or toys for doing chores, just show them that it really meant something to you. This is an excellent post. Kids love it when you treat them like adults. It's not like they're some weird different species. They're just inexperienced people. Every time I have a difficult student, they become my helper. Papers to be passed out? Projects to be collected? Need something run down to the office? Asked the troublemaker. I actually haven't had it backfire yet, although I'm well aware there's room to be taken advantage of. I was a TA in college, so not quite the same, but what the hell. The thing about most TAs is that we want you do too well, and it's frustrating when someone never shows up or half-asses their work, but if they don't come complain about it, who cares? This one kid was different. He did 0 out of 5 homeworks, 10% of the grade, 0 out of 5 projects, 25% of the grade, did not do the review that was 5% of the grade, only took 1 out of the 3 exams, each 20% of the grade, got the lowest grade in the class on the one exam he did take. He then went to complain to the dean that the class was too hard, and the TAs were unfairly screwing him because we didn't like him, which prompted us TAs to have to go through a review of what he did to make sure there was nothing untoward, although since he never came to class or office hours, that made it easy to point out there wasn't much we could have done. I used to teach summer theater camps. When I was still in high school, I was a helper, basically a counselor who helped the main teacher wrangle kids, participate in activities, etc. Me and my boyfriend were both helping out with different groups, but we would take our lunch at the same time. One day during our lunch break, he and I were in a hallway that ran along the side of the theater. I was playing an upright piano that was back there, and he was standing at the edge, leaning up against it. Just talking, hanging out, killing time. One of the kindergarten kids walked past the hallway and saw us from the doorway about 30 feet away. He looked at us and yelled, "Oh, Miss Jess and Mr. Boy, RKISSINGGGGGGGGGGG." We laughed because what a fact? We were at least 2 feet away from each other, not close enough for any physical contact, except, like, kicking, and the kid could clearly see that. A few minutes later, the director of the camp pulled me aside. She lectured me about how she understands young love, and she's still got those same teenage feelings for her husband, but we cannot act that way at work, and we need to act like adults when we're there. She was as kind as she could be about it. I can't blame her. When a 6-year-old kid says he saw 2 16-year-olds making out in a dark hallway, who would you assume is lying? He was a kid and he didn't realize the consequences of his actions. But I almost got fired because he thought he was being funny. So that kid I didn't really like. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.